The Totalitarian Two-Step, a contrarian view to the United States of Israel's exceptionalism, by Dennis C. Jansen, read by the author himself. Chapter title, Mercenaries for Hire. Quote, a rich man's battle and a poor man's fight. Grandpa Harold Smith. President Trumpster, the business genius who once bankrupted a casino that he owned, negotiated an excellent deal for the USI. In an interview with CIA-controlled Fox News' Laura Ingraham, President Donald Trump made a shocking announcement. Saudi Arabia was paying the U.S. $1 billion to send U.S. troops to defend it from Iran. We're sending more troops to Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia is paying us for it, Trump said. I said, listen, you are a very rich country. Do you want more troops? I am going to send them to you, but you have to pay us. They are paying us. They have already deposited $1 billion in the bank. Critics, including Representative Justin Amash, independent from Michigan, criticized the move, accusing Trump of using American troops as paid mercenaries. He sells troops, Amish tweeted on CIA-controlled MSNBC. Representative Barbara Lee, a Democrat from California, raised the prospect that Trump deposited the Saudi Arabia money in a personal bank account and said the president is selling our soldiers as mercenaries to foreign governments. Yet, many vets will go to their grave believing that they fought to protect freedom in the USI. Wake the fuck up. Perhaps Kissinger was correct when he said, military men are dumb, stupid animals to be used as pawn for foreign policy. In 2020, Iraq's parliament voted to expel American troops from the country. Later, near the end of his presidency, Trump conducted another interview with CIA-controlled Fox News. The Ingraham Angle said that he believes Iraq should pay back the United States for its investment in the country, or the American armed forces will stay there. If we leave, you have to pay us. Trump told host Laura Ingraham, if we leave, you have to pay us the money we put in. We have a lot of currency there right now. We have a lot of their money. We have $35 billion of their money right now sitting in an account. I think they will agree to pay. Otherwise, we will stay there. The president also repeated his theory that countries such as Saudi Arabia and South Korea were paying the U.S. to have American soldiers in the country. They have already deposited $1 billion in the bank, Trump said of the Saudis. South Korea gave us $500 million. I said, you have to help us along. We have 32,000 soldiers in South Korea protecting it from North Korea. You have to pay. And they gave us $500 million. Concerning Iraq, the U.S. acts as if Iraq invited them into their country. The U.S. invaded their country using the lie, weapons for mass destruction, to sell a fake war that we now know was not true. The Americans destroyed their country by dropping bombs that killed millions of Iraqis, injured mass numbers, and left millions of orphaned children. Since the 9/11 false flag attack, it is estimated that 2.4 million people have been killed in Iraq and the surrounding region due to the historic act of aggression committed by the U.S. and the UK in 2003. Many books have been written about the 9/11 false flag attack, which the U.S. used to regenerate the beating of the war drum in the Middle East. This book will not delve into the subject matter. However, the false flag can easily be summarized by stating the following. There were 2 airplanes and 3 buildings were destroyed. When asked how many buildings went down in New York City on September 11, 2001, most ignorant Americans would answer 2. The correct answer is 3 buildings folded. World Trade Center building number 7 is often overlooked. This building was never hit by anything, equaled 47 stories in height, and fell in 7.6 seconds, near zero resistance freefall. All 3 of the buildings were owned and insured by Larry Silverstein. He was interviewed regarding the World Trade Center Building 7 and stated, "I remember getting a call from the fire department commander informing me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. I said, we've had such an awful loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing is to pull it." And they made the determination to pull it. And then we watched the building collapse. Ask yourself, why was the building pre-wired for demolition? The demolition of a 47-story building would take contractors and engineers at least 6 months to design, calculate, and prepare for permitting. It is not as easy as flipping on a light switch. Yet the demolition explosives were already conveniently in place. The government's official explanation for why the buildings fell at near zero resistance freefall was that magic jet fuel melted the building's structural steel support members. However, jet fuel can only burn to a maximum temperature of 1517 Fahrenheit, and high-grade steel melts at 2,777 degrees Fahrenheit. Some scientists have claimed that steel loses 50% of its strength above 1200 degrees Fahrenheit. The easiest way to understand why this rationalization is absurd is that when the buildings were supposedly struck by airplanes, World Trade Center's towers 1 and 2 collapsed approximately 50 minutes later, and Building 7 was never hit by an aircraft. Wouldn't the steel have cooled off? The truth is that all 3 buildings were wired with thermite, and the government contractors performed controlled demolitions. This is what is called problem, reaction, and solution. USI and their coalition of evil caused the problem. The terrorist attacks and the controlled demolitions of the 3 buildings in New York City were supposedly orchestrated by a Muslim named Osama bin Laden, over 2,000 miles away while hiding out in a cave. Then the reaction after the CIA-controlled media set the narrative is to have millions of Americans panic and national fear set in as people think it could happen again. Finally, the solution. Americans are stripped of privacy rights, additional laws, regulations, and more signed executive orders. They are easily instigated because the citizens believe that the government has their best interests in mind and would never lie to them and keep them safe. The country is heading to war that the now frightened people accept without question because they are still literally in shock from the event and figure these measures are necessary to feel secure. Thus, they allow their rights to be taken away quickly. Trust the government. They know best and will keep you safe. Work with your officials. It is a team effort. Join up with the government, profile people, and report suspicious neighbors that may look different than you or practice a religion associated with the terrorist. Many researchers also believe that Osama bin Laden worked for the CIA when Afghanistan was fighting the Soviet Union and was named Tim Osman. Once CIA, always CIA. It was reported that Osama bin Laden was killed by SEAL Team 7 and was buried at sea. End of chapter.